The President of the United States is under fire today over reports indicating that he may be planning a visit to Saudi Arabia. The political website Axios and other news organizations here report that senior White House officials are mulling a presidential trip to Saudi Arabia in the spring in an effort to find additional sources of oil for the West as Russian sanctions intensify. Although the White House says no plans are yet formalized, Biden's press secretary confirmed that an official U.S. delegation had visited Saudi Arabia last month.
As it relates to Saudi Arabia, we did talk a few weeks ago about how Brett McGurk and Amos Hochstein went to Saudi Arabia to discuss a range of issues, including the war in Yemen, including security in the region, and certainly including energy security.
West Asia is a region that is considered a top priority for all U.S. presidents. When Biden entered the White House last year, one of his main priorities was recalibrating the Saudi relationship that had been sidelined by the murder of Saudi American journalist Jamal Khashoggi in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, and the role Western intelligence agencies claim that Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman played in orchestrating that killing. Warm ties between the United States and Saudi Arabia under successive presidents, including Donald Trump, rapidly atrophied. When Biden was sworn in, he insisted he wanted no contact personally with the Crown Prince. He released declassified intelligence reports on the killing of Khashoggi and documents looking into Saudi Arabia's connection to the al-Qaeda attacks of September the 11th, 2001. When Biden was asked about rising gas prices in February, he indicated no interest in turning to the kingdom for help, saying, "There's a lot of Middle Eastern folks who want to talk to me. I'm not sure I'm going to talk to them." On the campaign trail, Biden said he would maintain America's policy after the Khashoggi killing of treating the Crown Prince as a global pariah. But much has changed since then. U.S. inflation is at a 40-year high. Midterm elections are looming, and Russia has, of course, plunged the world into what could be its biggest energy crisis for decades. The White House calls reports of a presidential visit to Riyadh premature speculation. But the Ukraine crisis has left the United States seeking to shore up global oil supplies from wherever possible. It's unclear whether the Saudis want to assist President Biden. Last week, the Crown Prince was asked if he's misunderstood by the Biden administration. "I do not care," he said, adding, "We don't have the right to lecture you in America. The same goes the other way." But the fact is, the rise in oil prices doesn't just benefit Russia, it also helps Saudi Arabia. Riyadh controls 55% of the world's crude oil supply. At the current rate, Riyadh is projected to earn over $375 billion from oil this year alone, a nearly 150% increase over last year. So President Biden has an uphill task ahead of him if he wants to convince Saudi Arabia to boost oil production. In return, Riyadh could lobby for more defense deals with the United States and an end to U.S. criticism of Saudi Arabia's military involvement in Yemen. Joining me now live from New York, our correspondent Susan Tehrani. Susan, let's talk about this possible trip to Saudi Arabia by President Biden. The White House calling all of this premature speculation. Where do we understand that things actually stand?
So as you mentioned, this is a report that came out by Axios, and the Biden administration has been signaling this bizarre oil diplomacy. I mean, the Saudi Arabia trip, will have to wait to see where it comes in terms of confirmation. But this outsourcing of oil and this bizarre oil diplomacy to turn into countries like Venezuela, for example, which the administration does have a delegation in, or turn to OPEC countries to somewhat beg them for oil, or wait for a deal with Iran, when members of the own Biden administration and Republicans are saying that if you just open pipelines here in the United States and turn to shale producers, a lot faster there will be oil for the United States, and production and the revenues will go into American pockets than to sort of go around and, fill the pockets of dictators. So I think a lot of the frustration and criticism that we're seeing right now, at least here in the United States, comes from that. And sort of it culminated with this report from Axios about this possible trip to Saudi Arabia regarding how much more are we going to outsource under the guise of reducing our carbon emission, where, the carbons are being emitted outside of the United States. We're keeping to clean energy when, frankly, right now, this economy cannot run on anything but fossil fuel, at least for the next several years. And then here we stand right now. So I think a lot of it has to do with that aspect of it, and his policies at the very beginning on being very tight on fossil fuel and energy. So, we'll have to wait and see whether or not he takes this trip. Yes, it was a campaign promise, like many others, that if he does go ahead and talk with the Saudis and the Saudis do receive him, it's going to be a campaign promise that he didn't deliver on. But here we are with geopolitics once again, and America, preferring, as it has before, to perhaps maybe sort of put human rights in the back burner for now.
And Susan, while we've been talking, one bit of breaking news here in Washington, we are hearing that President Biden may ban Russian imports of oil into the United States within the next few hours. Those reports coming from prominent Democrats on Capitol Hill who say they expect an announcement here today. But let's go back to this issue of a possible presidential trip to Saudi Arabia. I mean, you talked there about human rights potentially getting sidelined as a result of that. But the blowback for President Biden of travelling to Riyadh and meeting Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman would be one of fury, would it not, from the human rights campaign, from human rights campaigners here in the United States, and from a foreign policy elite that was absolutely stunned by the killing of Jamal Khashoggi.
It's not a win-win strategy. I mean, he can't win in this scenario right now. One, because again, and this is what this administration and the Obama administration and Democrats seem to do this a lot, and not to point fingers at them, but they keep drawing these red lines that they pass themselves, and they get themselves into these hot waters. So yes, exactly. The Khashoggi case was something that raised worldwide condemnation, and the previous administration was chastised and criticized time and again for engaging with Saudi Arabia, even if it was limited. And here he is, President Biden, he's going to be seen like being a hypocrite on the issue on the one hand, and on the other hand, we're not going to know whether or not, Saudi Arabia, it does seem like it does have the capacity and the supply to make up for Russian oil on the international market, but whether or not it's able to do that, and whether or not it wants to release its oil, because on the other hand, it's an OPEC member country, it doesn't want to drive down the prices right now, it's benefiting. So, the scenario maybe President Biden does make this trip. Bin Salman doesn't get what he wants from Bin Salman, and then he also has the criticism to be faced with. Just regarding that breaking news, I do want to say that the Democrats really needed to do this for a political win. Banning Russian oil in the United States may be a lot more political than practical. The United States does import Russian oil, but it doesn't make up that much, less than 10% of what we're importing here in the United States. For it to have an effect on the Russian economy, it would have to be with its partners around the world. So we'll have to wait to see how that works out in the next few hours.
Susan Tehrani live for us on the streets of New York City. Thanks very much indeed for being there again today.